but headwinds make it hard to get back home.
Pete and Maura Kennedy are the Kennedys. They've just released a new album titled Headwinds. Based in Tarrytown, New York, we were due to chat with the Kennedys a few days earlier, but then trouble reared its ugly head when their internet connection shut down. Now they're back online, and we find that it wasn't Headwinds that shut down their internet, but rather a much more sinister beast.
Last night around 11, they finally figured out that a family of possums had gotten into a box up on a telephone pole.
Our internet was attacked by possums.
Classic.
We shut the whole thing down.
Yeah, possums can be kind of vicious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when we were living in Rochester, and my daughters were really tiny at the time, and we heard something at the back door on this little porch in the back door, and it was a possum trying to get in it. And so my smallest one, she was like 3 at the time, she tried to reach out to pet it, and it hissed at her. And
Yeah.
like, oh my
They are
God.
not cuddly.
No, they're not cuddly. Anyway, so I was afraid. I didn't know if it was a storm or anything that was going on there where you were.
I thought, well, there had been a storm a couple days earlier. It didn't knock anything down though, so that was weird.
Yeah.
Right.
It was just possum damage.
Oh, well, at least it wasn't Headwinds.
Touché.
See what I did there? Yes. So Headwinds is the album. It's very exciting. It's out on Friday, right?
It came out last Friday.
That came out last Friday.
Yeah,
I can keep track of everybody. So what did you do on the day? Anything exciting?
On Friday day. What do we do on Friday?
Actually, the gig was on Sunday.
The big release gig.
Yeah.
In Long Island.
On Stony Brook in Long Island. And that was great.
Stony Brook.
Yeah.
Yes. All these names. I went to Brockport, which is SUC.
Yeah.
Stony Brook and all that. And so when you do a gig, is it just the two of you, or was it do you have augmented by a band, or how does it work?
No, it's the two of us. We get a pretty full sound for 2 people. And because it's just the two of us, we know so many songs. If we had a band, we'd have to rehearse like 12 songs, and those are the only ones we could do. But at our shows, people can yell out a request, and chances are we'll know it.
And is it all your songs, or do you do a lot of covers and stuff as well?
Well, we always do our own thing, but during the pandemic, we were doing weekly shows. And to keep it fresh, we decided early on that we would do different shows every week. We didn't know the pandemic was going to go on for over 2 years. So
we thought it'd be like a month, maybe.
So after we ran through all of our material, like 3 months into it or so, we started learning other people's songs. Right. And we did all these great theme shows, like we did a Motown show, and we did tributes to different artists, Buddy Holly, Bob Dylan, like that. We just learned. So in the past, 3 years, we've learned and performed over 1,000 different songs. So we know a lot of songs.
You know a lot of songs. And I see you're doing some kind of tribute shows for Joni Mitchell or John Lennon or whatever. What was that all about?
Yeah.
Both of them.
New York City is the shows that do really well in the city itself are shows that are specialty shows, usually ones with a cast. And so the John Lennon one we've been doing every year, it's the guy who started that, he started it the year that John Lennon was killed because he was one of John's neighbors, and it was a very small thing. And it's been built up over the years. So this year, along with the Kennedys, is Graham Nash, I think Judy Collins, Roseanne Cash.
I love Roseanne Cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get different people.
Rita
Donovan
Coolidge.
did it one year.
Nice.
Jackson Brown, Cyndi Lauper.
And who decides what songs you're going to do? Do you like scrap? Is there a rumble?
They usually ask. They usually have an idea for us what song they want us. We usually do a couple songs, and then we really like the aspect where we get to sit in with everybody else. So I got to sing with Debbie Harry, and Cyndi Lauper.
That's pretty cool.
Things like that. So I'm looking forward to singing with Graham Nash for sure.
Yeah, we did a Paul McCartney one earlier in the year too. And the thing about New York City is, like, when you do a gig like that, it starts with the MC reading an email from Paul McCartney saying, "Hey, have a great gig," and stuff like that. And that raises the bar right there.
Definitely, that would be intimidating. All right, well, back to the Kennedys. Oh, are you? I don't know if you're probably not. There's a classic Kiwi song from like the mid '80s called "Glad I'm Not a Kennedy." Are you aware of that?
Oh, by Shona Lang.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually played Soviet Snow on our internet show. Yeah, she's
Oh, great.
great.
Yeah, she's really cool.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know how, because I hadn't heard of it until I moved here, so I figured it's fairly
That one
obscure.
we haven't done yet.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I
Very
know
good.
about John Lang. She's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. All right. So Headwinds, how did it obviously came about after you did all these shows and you have all this material and it was a lockdown thing. So take it from there.
Okay.
Well, when we moved out of the city early on in the pandemic, we were living in the East Village, and it was very intense there. And we were in a real small apartment, and you just felt like you couldn't really isolate properly to keep yourself safe. So we moved up the river, about a half an hour up the river, to Tarrytown, where
Right.
my sister and her husband live, and they had an extra apartment in their house that was not used. So we came up here temporarily, and we're still here because we like it a lot. But
Yep.
when we were living in New York, you could look out our window and see the next building right next to us.
Sure.
Here, I can see all the way across the Hudson River to Nyack. I can see
Right.
the bridge, and we can see an awful lot of sky, and so we're really a lot more surrounded by nature here.
Right.
Different kind of nature than the nature in New York.
But we found,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think that doing the weekly live stream really had an impact on us because we were sort of in direct, because there's the chat. You probably have this with your own viewers. We had this kind of, it's direct as online can be, communication every week with these people, and we could kind of sense the things they were worried about, which was a lot of things during the pandemic.
Right.
And they also had the climate crisis, the war in Ukraine, the political, all that was going on at the same time. And I think that really it made us feel like these people needed songs. They needed the things they were worried about put into words in a poetic kind of way. And I think that's really what prompted the album. It informs almost all the songs, even the kind of lighthearted songs.
Gotcha. And you mentioned where you're living now, so that's where you shot the video for Headwinds, right? On the Hudson and and the Hudson Valley and Saugerties lighthouses there and all that.
Oh,
stuff.
you got that,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yeah.
I am kind of a local.
Maybe the only guy in New Zealand who recognized that.
There you go.
That's right,
Something
yeah.
anyway. So whose idea was the video?
If it wasn't for you, don't know what I'd do. I'm aimless without your touch, and I regret that day I threw it all away, and I miss you oh so much.
That was my sister's. So just before we went to the Southeast, we go to the Southeast every January because that way we don't get gigs snowed out. We go down where it's warm.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And we had the record all done. It was recorded and mastered and everything, but we hadn't taken a photo for the cover yet. And my sister, who we live in her house, she's a professional photographer. And so the day before we were to leave for the Southern tour, I said to Susie, can you get a picture that we can use for the album cover? It doesn't have to be anything fancy. We just need a pic. And she said, well, let's do a real photo shoot. So she took us up to Saugerties Lighthouse, and she does a lot of drone photography because she does environmental stuff. So she'll see like a whole landscape below her with a drone. So she had the drone up there, us in the lighthouse. And while she's taking these still photos, I said to her, that doesn't do video, does it? And she said, yeah. So it was an afterthought, but she shot some of that at the lighthouse. And then the next day, just before we left, she said, let's get some more footage at the lakes here. It's just a quarter mile up the road. So the rest of it there is at the lakes. And you could see on the video, it's foggy. There's ice in the water. Those are not special effects.
It's not post-production. That's the way, that's what the weather was.
Yeah, it's a nice afterthought. I mean, the vision looks beautiful. So.
Yeah.
And my understanding is that the song itself was inspired by something down in the Florida Keys. Is that right?
That's right, Mark.
It's funny how little trivia things can become big metaphors.
Right.
As long as you stop and notice them. And we were riding our bikes, not our bikes. We were staying at a hotel and they had bikes you could take. And we were biking across a part of the bridge, the old Flagler Railroad Bridge. That was a bridge that got washed out in a hurricane in 1935, but they saved that one bit of it. So you can ride across the ocean and see the sharks and the sea turtles and the stingrays down there. And we brought a picnic out to the little island and had that. And it was a nice, easy ride going up. But then coming back, we were hit with this really strong headwind coming from the east. And it took about twice as long to get back. And that's when I got the line, headwinds make it hard to get back home. And then that's when we thought about the deeper meaning. On the surface, it sounds like a relationship song. But as Pete said, we're coming out of the pandemic. We've got the climate crisis to deal with, the war in Ukraine, the political polarization that's rampant here in America anyway. And we thought, when you're here in the middle, everything's fine. But it takes vigilance to not let things get too far from the center. And when they do, then that's when you face the headwinds coming back. So that's the metaphor of that song.
Yeah, gotcha. But more than a metaphor, I mean, the weather seems to be, just watching it from outside of the States, seems like every day there's something weird and new and horrifying happening.
Yeah.
What's the mindset of folks in the States? I know you can't speak for everyone, but for yourselves, are you like worried of what's going to happen next?
Of course. I mean, the people who are the most vocal, it seems, are the deniers a lot of the time. But we can see the weather every day here. We had days and days of thick smoke because of uncontrollable wildfires, and there's a hurricane brewing right now. And, it's climate change is all around us. And so you have to acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge it, then you're not going to do anything to stop or to help it.
Yeah. And of course, down here in this part of the world, a lot of it is very close to sea level. And once that sea level starts rising, there's going to be trouble. So everything's melting.
That's true in New York City too.
Yep. So the album starts with a song called "New Set of Wheels." Why is that the first track of the album?
Well, I'm driving this same old road on a new set of wheels. I've been all around the world, and I know how freedom feels. When you live it up every mile, you're gonna break down once in a while. You gotta wait for a tow in the flow of automobiles, till you're back on the same old road with a new set of wheels.
We like to start each record with something upbeat and fun. That's just to sort of set the energy level. And that's a really fun song. We, over the past, almost 30 years we've been touring, we've gone through a parade of gas guzzling cars. We always wanted to reduce our carbon footprint, but that was always, a little out of our reach. But we were finally able to commit to a hybrid automobile. And so this song, New Set of Wheels, was our celebration of the our new carbon footprint, but also a nod to the clunkers and gas guzzlers that got us this far.
I've had a few of them myself.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, the song "A Boy from the East River Shore" is the co-write with Mr. Dylan, if I'm not mistaken. How did that happen?
If they even see him at all, but the cops, they know him all too well, from a brutal street fight and brawl. Oh, he wasn't the one with blood on his hands from that kid lying dead on the floor, but they keep watch out for one false move from the boy from the East River Shore.
Well, disclaimer, I didn't sit down in a room with him like that. I really love a song of his called Red River Shore. I don't know if you know it. It was an outtake. I can't remember which album it was an outtake of. But it's a great song, and I love the story. The main character is a woman who's sort of set up on a pedestal, and Dylan is the person who's singing about her. And I always loved the concept of answer songs,
Sure. Yep.
And I thought, what if I wrote a song, because we were living in the East Village, the boy, instead of the girl, from the East River Shore. I came up with that title a long time ago, and I was sort of tossing it around, trying to think, well, who would that boy be, you know? And I just, over a long period of time, came up with this story and wrote the song. But I realized, and I knew it was kind of on purpose, the hook line, "The Boy from the East River Shore," is the same melody as Dylan's "The Girl from the Red River Shore." And really, a lot of the structure is similar. So I knew if I was going to do this right, I would have to, you know, swing it by them for their input. And
how does one swing things by Bob Dylan?
It's hard, you know. It took a long time for them to get back, but they liked the song. They gave me approval, and now we're co-writers. So I'm very happy about that.
And there's some nice guitar in that track too. Very kind of. Is that this guy here?
That's this guy.
Yeah. I was thinking of actually kind of like a vintage Dylan sound, you know, like that Highway 61 revisited sound, kind of clangy, a lot of stuff just kind of blending together.
Well, a lot of that would have been Robbie Robertson, who just passed away a little while ago. So it's
that's exactly what I was thinking of. What on that little guitar solo is like, what would Robbie do? You know, what would Robbie do? Because that was a huge influence for me. Was the first two band albums.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And seeing, I saw them play several times too. So that's in the back of my mind a lot.
Yep. Yes, I saw the '74 tour with Dylan and the band. It was
the Flood before.
Before the Flood, and so you guys pretty much play and sing and do everything other than a drummer. So how do you work together in the studio? How do you kind of figure out who does what?
A lot of the times, I'll go in. Since I'm the main singer, I'll have to make sure I pick the right key for the song where it fits in my voice the best. So, and also I like to set the tempo. So I'll get the key and the tempo, and I'll just lay down a guitar vocal scratch track, they call it. And then Pete will usually go in and layer. He'll put on the bass. He'll do the drums. We both will add keyboards and like, sometimes I have a little glockenspiel that I like to play and percussion and things. So we kind of build it from there, but that it starts with me and it ends with Pete for sure. And Pete usually does the mixing and mastering too.
Right. And I see Pete wrote one called Yolanda on his own. Tell me about that one.
Yolanda, I'm gonna miss those big brown eyes. Yolanda, I always knew that they were wise. And when we laughed and cried, you were always by my side. Now you're free as a newborn bird, Yolanda.
Yeah, that was a friend of, like I said, when we're doing this live stream thing, when we were doing it every week, we would sort of get the news updates from people. And at one point, there was one of our viewers was really, really upset and sad, grieving, because she had lost someone very close to her named Yolanda. And should I reveal who Yolanda was?
Well, yeah, Yolanda.
Okay, then I will. Yolanda was a pet. Not a human being.
Gotcha.
And not a dog or a cat either. She was a miniature donkey. And when we got photos of this animal, she was so cute. Yeah, a little Italian donkey. And we could identify with our friend grieving for this cute little creature who had lived with her for, I think, 5 years. And so I wrote the song. It's like a little bossa nova with just one guitar. I didn't want it to be a big production. You know, I wanted it to be almost like we were singing directly to her. Mm-hmm. And so that's who Yolanda is.
Okay. Yeah, people do get attached to their pets. I have a friend who has a 17-year-old cat, and she's very worried. I have to check in every day and see how the cat's doing.
Oh yeah.
She's gonna need
No one has thought it was silly yet to write a.
No, I wouldn't think so.
Something like that.
Now you were members of Nancy Griffith's band at one point, right?
Oh yeah.
For a long time, we when we first got together back in '92. Mm-hmm. Pete was on the road with Nancy, and I shortly joined the band after that. And so we did the whole European. Well, you did the American part of the tour. Actually, Pete had played with her for a couple of years to that point. And then I played the whole European tour for her Grammy-winning Other Voices, Other Rooms album. Great record. Right. And she asked us right before we left for the tour if we would be the opening act. And we hadn't put an act together yet, but we didn't tell her that because we didn't want to lose the gig. So that's when we started performing together and writing together. And when that tour ended, we sort of went off on our own, but we would still connect with Nancy over the years, do gigs with her, meet up with her at festivals and gigs and sit in. And we remained friends. We did some writing with her. And then in 2010, we opened for her near here. And when she showed up, she had one guitar player with her. When we were in the band with her, we were part of a 9-piece band. Right. So when I saw how bare bones it was.
The Blue Moon Orchestra, right?
Blue Moon Orchestra, yeah. So I said to her, I know you don't have any backup singers with you. If you want any backup, I remember all your songs. So
of course.
So she said, okay, maybe you can sing on whatever. And she called us up like the third song of the set. We were only going to sing that one song. And she said, well, just stay up here with me. So we finished that show and we played every single show with her until the day she died.
Oh, man.
So the last 4 years of touring.
And you kind of produced her last album, her final album?
Yeah, we did. She didn't really want to travel to LA or New York or London or Dublin. I had recorded with her there too. She was kind of approaching retirement and she really was liking being home in Nashville. And I told her, I said, our recording stuff is portable. That's the way it is nowadays. Sure, I'll load it all up in the car, drive down to Nashville and set it up she had a kind of a music room in her house. And so we turned that into the studio. So it was recorded in Nashville, but not at a Music Row studio. It was done right at her house. She could just walk upstairs with a cup of coffee and sing.
Nice. Very nice. So Headwinds was your first album in like 5 years. Are you thinking already in terms of the next one? Are you going to wait another 5 years? What have you got in mind?
Well, we don't ever figure out like when's the next one. It's just whenever we have the songs or a concept. But this is so brand new and we're so excited about the songs. We're so excited about playing live again. Last year we started playing gigs here and there, but people still weren't really ready to come out. And but now it seems people are very ready to be in a community again. So that's been great to play new songs. And also when we do our shows, we usually play the new songs in the first set. And then people will ask for their requests in the second. We'll do that too.
Yep. So I get the feeling that they're doing all these live things, streams and all that it'll change a little bit about the way you interact with your audience.
We had never done a live stream before. I know we'd been approached about doing them. And I thought it was, this is before the pandemic. I didn't see a point in doing a live stream because we were playing out. But then it was kind of like, oh, we're going to be stuck at home. We don't have the gigs. And now everybody else is stuck at home too. We can do this. And so we took it to heart. We went online the very first weekend of the lockdown and did 125 consecutive Sunday shows before we went to monthlies. So we love the fact that we can connect directly with our audience. We can even look at them chatting in and answer questions in real time. And now we're meeting them in person for the first time too. So that's great.
I think it makes going on tour a little bit different because we're sort of already connected to this.
Yeah, that's kind of
World Wide Web. Hey, I just came up with a brand new term. The web of people who are already our viewers.
Catch on, I'm sure. So I don't know if you have any fans down here in New Zealand, but if you do, come on down.
We'd love to.
Yeah,
we would love to do that.
Yeah. All righty. Very good. All right. Well, we better wrap this thing up. I'm sure you got real stuff to do and more gigs to get ready for. So thank you for spending time talking with me. I appreciate it.
Marty, thank you so much. Hi to all the folks in New Zealand and around the world.
Well, thanks for getting the music out there.